We are counting down the 8 best matches in the career of Rey Mysterio on our way to Sound Off 619 later this month. We've covered the SummerSlam match with Kurt Angle and a pair of matches with Psychosis and Juventud Guerrera. Now we get to number 5 on this top 8 list. I was a big fan of Lucha Underground. I watched all 4 seasons. I waited for a 5th until I realized there wasn't going to be a 5th. And so a lot of the stories that started early, from season 1, unfortunately never got fully wrapped up. In the first season, Ricochet was positioned as the top hero on the show, as Prince Puma. And in season 2, he got phased down a lot, but he did get put in a trios team with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Azteca Jr. And they won the trios titles in Lucha Underground, and Puma was the one who took the fall when they lost them. And there was some growing frustration there, between Puma and Mysterio, mostly from Puma's part. And he ended up challenging Rey to a match at their Ultima Lucha event at the end of that season. And that is number 5 in this countdown. Rey Mysterio versus Prince Puma from Lucha Underground Season 2, Ultima Lucha Dos, Part 3. It was taped in January 31st of 2016. It didn't air on television until July 20th of that year. And you can find the full match. I think El Rey put the full match up on the Lucha Underground YouTube channel. This was considered a dream match at the time. And I think it still could be in WWE. Rey Mysterio against Ricochet, that'd be a pretty big match to me in WWE. Right now, as I am recording this, WWE is actually doing an angle where Mysterio has agreed to not retire at the request of his son Dominic. He's scheduled to wrestle Grand Metalik on Raw this Monday as I am recording this. I'm hopeful that as part of whatever this storyline is that they're doing, we'll get some other cool pairings for him that we haven't seen before in WWE, and that Ricochet will be one of them. But we got to see it first in Lucha Underground. Mysterio had been written off by a lot of people at this point in his career. He's older, he's slower, his knees are bad, he's too beat up, all of which was true. And yet, in Lucha Underground, he looked like he had turned back the hands of time. And this match was his best match in years. When I reviewed this match in this episode on Sound Off 451, that's pretty much what I said. This was his best match up to this point in many, many years. Just outstanding stuff between these two. They did, during the match, and I'm not going to go through every sequence here, but one of the key points, turning points, in the match, they did a moment similar to the Shawn Michaels "I'm Sorry, I Love You" moment in his match with Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24, with Puma up on the top rope, readying himself to hit the 630, but he hesitates, and it costs him, because when he finally hits the move, Rey moved out of the way. So Rey tries for a 619, Puma, he counters that, Rey counters back, hits the 619 finally, and the leaping Rana off the top rope to score the pin. The same move, the same flying Rana into a pin combination that he used to finish off a lot of opponents early in his career. And I remember thinking going into this match, for sure, that Puma was going to win. It would be like their passing of the torch type deal. I'm sure they're paying Rey a lot of money. We'll bring him in. We'll have him put over our top star. A lot of people are already comparing Puma as like a modern day Rey Mysterio. This can be a true modern passing of the torch moment. As the match went on, as aggressive as Puma was being, there came a point where I realized that Rey was probably going to end up winning this thing. Now, he did leave Puma in the ring when the match was over to kind of soak up the cheers and have his own moment, but I feel the same looking back. Prince Puma should have won this match. They were building him up to be like their Rey Mysterio, the hometown hero from Boyle Heights. Rey could have put this guy over as the new crown prince of Lucha Libre, but instead they decided to go in another direction and tell the story of the teacher outsmarting the student. Both men would end up finishing up with Lucha Underground at the end of Season 3, and they would not be back for Season 4. So that was a kind of a double whammy there. Losing Puma, who was really their top babyface and one of their top original characters from season 1, that was a big enough loss. To lose him and Mysterio, probably the biggest star they had, that maybe that should have been a sign of things to come. So they lost the both of them at the end of season 3. Both of them would find their way to WWE. And again, I hope we get to see them work together one more time before Rey hangs it up for good and for real. And this time, he can put Ricochet over. In fact, I think Ricochet would make for a great final opponent for Rey Mysterio.